media and
oh yeah, definitely.
control and all of that.
But everything, like, there's always been something that's been on The Simpsons, and years later, it's actually happened.
Yep.
So you think that maybe there's something that is going on, like that Illuminati and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it is true.
I strongly believe in that, to be honest. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Adam Sandler's predictions.
Yes.
You have? Okay, so, there's been several incidences as well that he's either mumbled or, made jokes about on stage or worn a t-shirt in one instance, things that had actually happened that were serious events in history, from bombings to tsunamis, you know what I mean? And it's just...
Exactly.
It's really one of those things that it makes you wonder, like, I'm sure he's not, I don't know, he could be psychic, but, it just seems too weirdly coincidental for me.
But even, if you think about that kind of stuff, like, Notorious B.I.G. in his song Hypnotize, it is a lyric of blown up like the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Well, World Trade Center didn't blow up, until many, many years after he died.
Yep. Well, there was actually huge controversy, I guess. I think it was Channel 7 or Fox News or something of that extent, but somebody had tried to sue the U.S. government over airing the bombing, the Trade Center issue there before it had actually happened. They started, I guess, broadcasting and were partial taping without being on air. And somebody called them out.
That's a whole other, conspiracy.
Which is just insane, And it's like, a little bit about the Illuminati stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen the playing card game.
Yes.
Right. And, like, a lot of those things are on these cards. Like, the Trade Center and the Pentagon and, what was it? Hook Elementary School.
It's all there.
It's all there. How is that? You know what I mean? Like, it's just weird.
But even some of that stuff, like, it was done. They did it to their own people. Like Bush did that to his own people.
Yep.
And he blames, ISIS. They created ISIS.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
If you look at the Pentagon, where they said that the plane went through the building, the size of the hole is not the size of a plane.
Oh, and it's not it wouldn't collapse the whole building.
No, but it would collapse the whole building. Problem is, it never did. It was only a hole that went through the whole building.
Right.
Which is a rocket. Like, say, 15 by 15 size hole.
Yeah.
Instead of, 100 by whatever.
Right.
Of a plane.
Exactly. It's a huge...
They're showing markings of where the plane dragged across and landed to the building. Those markings were there before the plane even happened, like weeks before there was markings in the grass.
Oh, wow. I've never heard that. To be honest, that's insane.
And then the towers, when they were, I'm not saying that the planes never hit them, but there's evidence that shows that the buildings were exploding before the planes even hit.
Right, yeah, I heard that too,
and
actually.
the way they're exploding is how they do it when they demolish buildings.
Collapse a building, yep.
Yeah.
Dynamite it from the inside.
So how's,
No, it's a little too much question for me to be convinced,
Yes, definitely.
Definitely something off there. It's like the Boston bombings. There was a lot of speculations on that.
I can't wait to see that movie.
I'm pissed right off. I'm pissed.
And see how their version of it is.
See, I love Mark Wahlberg, okay, to be honest. I went to a launch party of his best friend. All of his pictures, there's a Jamaican guy on there. His name is Rostafil, but he's actually a good friend of mine's friend. So I went to their Today I Can Do Anything launch thing, which is their clothing line. Yeah. And, I love him. But you know what, to be honest, I think that it's really... really sad that, they've taken... I mean, I'm sure somebody was going to write a story and make a movie about it someday.
Eventually,
but, yeah. To be honest, I think that the proceeds from that should be going to the families who were victimized and hurt. You know what I mean? This shouldn't be something they make money off of. This isn't, a Hollywood... It's like making a movie about Louisiana.
Anything that they can make money off, they will.
Well, look at the people who freaked out about Beyonce's music video.
Yeah.
With the whole, Louisiana flooding, and she's on this cop car, and it was a little provocative for the people who actually experienced that.
Went through it, yeah.
And it's traumatizing to almost relive those memories, right? Like.
Well, just think, 5 years from now, when the movie comes out from Trump making the presidency, what kind of stories they're going to come up with?
Right, I know. Can't wait to see that one. Who's going to be the one to produce that?
Michael Moore.
Right? No, I know. That's too funny. Did you see that story about the girl who went missing in 1998? Who was found? She was stolen at 8 hours old from a hospital in Carolina. Yeah, she actually solved it herself, which is insane. I guess she just had this weird feeling about her family one day, and it was weird because the family she was with were, churchgoers. They were good people. Apparently, she was very bright. She was never abused or anything of that extent, but for whatever reason, this girl had just this gut instinct that she was kidnapped for whatever reason, which is weird. And she pretty much just called authorities and, got DNA tests done and seen if she looked like any of the missing kids. And, lo and behold, she was, which is insane. You know what I mean?
I don't know if you saw or heard about, it was another similar story, but this was, it was twins separated at birth.
Oh, no. I didn't hear that.
And Asian twins, but they were adopted by both Caucasian families, but they didn't know, like they were separated at birth. They had no idea.
Okay.
And this was on TV this past week.
Oh, really?
So there might be maybe about 10 or 11 now, and they were reunited.
That's crazy. I feel for those kids because you know what? Like, that's a kick to the face. Knowing your whole life is a lie or. And
they're identical twins.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it's funny that I guess the families talked and said, okay, they were going to wear the same thing because they were wearing exactly the same clothes. And as soon as they opened up the wall and the two met for the very first time,
yeah,
they were identical.
That's crazy. That's such a, you can almost imagine the emotions in that room, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. I couldn't imagine being separated from my children. Like, that's a feeling that you really can't relate to unless you've experienced it,
Something happens, yeah.
It's a shame that people do that kind of stuff, but it's real, you don't really...
Well, I guess this one was, it was legal. Like, I guess the mother or whatever...
Oh, it was an adoption.
Yeah, it was adoption. They were separated at birth. So both families were both actually white families that adopted the girls, the Asian girls, but they were two separate families.
That's so crazy, because you know what? I wonder if they were ever told they were adopted until then.
Well, I'm pretty sure by the time you grow up and you're an Asian girl, you're Chinese, and then your parents are white.
Yeah, you kind of put two and two together. It's true, right?
No way.
You don't really notice until you're mature enough to, see those differences or racial differences and stuff like that. That's insane. It's a happy ending when you hear that kind of stuff, regardless of the separation length, right? But there was this huge incident apparently in India. It was at least, I guess, 17 people drowned and 10 others were missing.
They're both capsized.
Yeah, there was something to do with them coming back from some sort of festival, and they overcrowded the boat, I guess. And
have you seen when they, like in these countries, and what they do when they jump on these boats and buses?
No.
It's like rats on top of each other. Like if the bus says holds 20, there's 200.
Oh my God. You know what's funny is my grandparents went to Puerto Plata, and they said the same thing about mopeds out there.
Yeah.
Like they just packed like 5 people on a moped. Yeah. All the kids in the middle. Could you imagine?
Like if you get one of those, like those double toasted, those toasters where you put one slice and it pops up.
Yep.
Try shoving a bunch of marshmallows in there, see what happens.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's a great metaphor.
Same thing. Like it doesn't work.
That's too funny.
It's gonna overload. That's what they do. They put, over limits, times 1,000, and they expect it.
Well, and that's like you can't get onto an elevator that says maximum 1,000 pounds and stick like 3 on there. Like, you know what I mean? There's mechanical.
Oh, it says, max 1,000 pounds or 10 people.
For a reason.
What was it? 10 kids? 10 Asian guys?
Right?
It can't be. It starts beeping from one Y. There's too many of us in here.
Right? No, it's so true. Because you know what? To be honest, people... I remember one time, this is a really, really funny example of this, but my son decided one day that we bought him this, those rideable cars. They're, drivable and mechanic. You just push the pedal and it goes like a real car.
Those battery-operated taco trucks.
Yeah. So we bought him one of those, and he really wanted to show it off to his friends and stuff, and he was taking the school bus to school, and he's like, Mom, can I ride it to the bus stop? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So we rode it there, and he gets on the bus, and I look down at this car, and I'm like, oh God. I'm like, how am I going to get this home now? I didn't even think of that. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at this car, and I was like, I can't just push it. It doesn't work like that. So
I know this Luffy guy. What he did was one of those trucks.
Yeah.
He put like a motor from a weed whacker.
What? That's
and
crazy.
Converted it.
That's insane.
Converted into like a little actual
motorized car.
Go-kart. Yeah, go-kart.
That's crazy. Yeah, so long story short, I got into this tiny Mercedes-Benz and I drove it home. It was the most pathetic thing. I'm sure my neighbors got a real kick out of it, but it was pretty funny. But I broke it.
Drank something today?
I broke it.
Yeah.
I actually did.
There's a weight restriction. I think it's like 20 pounds or something.
Yeah, let's put it this way. It I think was a max of like 70, and I'm like 120, 125, and it pretty much just fell to the tires. I was like, well, there goes the frame. Yeah, I'm sure.
Oops.
My son was not impressed.
Buy another one.
I was like, but Tiago, Mommy had to get it home. I'm sorry. I didn't even know what to say to him. He's like, what? Mom, it's not working. I'm like, yeah, about that.
She said, oh, I don't know. What do you mean? What happened? What'd you do? Why'd you break it?
Mom had to get it home somehow, but he was definitely not carrying it. That's for sure.
No.
So there was breaking news, I guess, about a huge incident that happened locally here in Ontario, in Cambridge, actually. There is a public elementary school, I believe it's Chalmers Public Elementary, and they had a massive breakout with hepatitis A.
Oh, that's just fabulous, isn't it?
Right, and you know what? It's concerning because that's not something we've seen, right? And it's like, you wonder how it happened, they don't really know, and apparently it's the symptoms of it are quite similar to like a flu. Which is scary, right? Like you don't really.
Why parents, when your kids are feeling sick, just keep them at home.
Right.
Which means they're gonna get everybody else sick.
Or take them to the doctors.
Yeah, and that's what happens.
Like people.
Parents, they can't, what comes back down to the economy. Parents can't take a day off work because they can't afford it. So bring the kids to school no matter what.
Yep.
And this is what happens.
Well, and that's the thing, like my daughter, she's immune compromised. She's got a disorder that causes that. And, my biggest thing is I don't even send her to school when she's got like a sniffle or a tiny bit of a cough because it'll blow out of proportion and, it typically means her immune system's low. And sending them into a school where, kids, let's face it, they're germ filled and, you bring the sniffles home at least once a week. And it's like, you can't really control it either. It's one of the most bacterial filled places is in a school, right? So like, it's better to just be safe than sorry. Like, I think that they should be shutting down the school personally and doing, they've claimed to do a huge clean out of it, but...
Yeah, but still, shut it down, decontaminate it, to make sure it's clean 100% before you put anyone else in there.
Well, and you don't know if anyone else is carrying the virus.
That's the thing. So you gotta make sure, test all staff, all faculty.
Yeah.
Anyone who was in that school within that time frame, so it could be parents, it could be a visitor, it could be, a public speaker, it could be anybody.
Well, and that's a severe, thing to be breaking out.
Anyone, yeah.
It's not just, not that measles or any of that things are less, but, like, it's not just the flu or an H1N1. Like, this is something that will stick around in your system, from what I'm understanding, for your whole life, right?
Yes, once you get it, that's it. It's a gift that it keeps on giving.
Well, and you can pass it to anybody, and I'm not sure how, because I haven't really researched it, to be honest, but... I really, it doesn't sound pleasant. It's not something I would be impressed if my kids came home with,
Well, since we're on the topic of schools, I don't know if you've heard, but there was a school in Vaughan, which is happening all across Ontario now with the bunch of guts. There's an elementary school in Vaughan that all this week that the kids weren't able to go out for recess.
Really? How come?
And the reason why is because the whole field and play area is covered in ice.
Oh.
And there's no money in the budget for them to call contractors to get them salted or get them plowed.
Oh, wow. That's a shame.
Yeah, so apparently the parents were given, in September, for state school, were given a letter saying that during the winter months that there's going to be,
indoor recesses.
Indoor recesses because of budget cuts and so forth. And so actually today was all over the news, all over city news that a parent complained.
Well, that should never be the case. Like, this is our youth. You know what I mean? Like, there's a structured...
Are we trying to, promote participation? Are we trying to promote, get kids getting outside, getting...
Well, and that's the thing. They do that for a reason.
In front of a screen?
Yeah. And that's the thing is, even the schools nowadays, like, I don't know, if you, we've never actually spoken about if you have children or not, but my kids, in their school nowadays, you remember when, I was younger, at least, we had those ridiculous wheelie projection screens with the see-through papers that my teacher wrote on and pulled down the thing on the wall, right?